Okay, so in DNA lecture number 3, I want to cover the process of replication. And replication is simply copying the DNA to make an exact copy, okay? And it's directly tied to cell reproduction. So whether it's a eukaryotic cell that is going through mitosis or a bacterial cell that's going through binary fission, before those processes can happen, the cell has to make an exact duplicate of its DNA, okay? And that's what replication is. Okay, so yeah, we've talked about how bacteria has much less DNA, so it takes, a shorter amount of time. So bacteria, it's going to take about 20 minutes. Human cell, going to take about 24 hours, meaning a human cell that has a nucleus in it. So the process is called DNA replication. And after I upload this lecture video, I'm also going to upload a couple short animation videos, so look for those. I'm also going to upload some extra notes for lecture 3. So actually, let me bring those up right here. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like. So let me define the process of replication for you. And I can't talk and type at the same time. And then of course, these notes are going to be uploaded onto Talon, so you'll be able to look at them. Okay, so replication is the process of making an exact copy of the DNA. Let me kind of zoom in on this. So the cell can divide. Okay, and another way we can think of it is replication is producing a new strand of DNA from an existing strand of DNA. Okay, so another way that we can call the existing strand of DNA is a DNA template. Okay, so the complementary base pairing rules that we talked about in lecture 1, that applies to replication because you're synthesizing DNA from existing DNA. Okay, and really the goal is to make an exact copy because, let's face it, like for example, in your cells, okay, the fact that all of you guys were born successfully, born alive, and that you've made it, through a couple of decades of life, what that means is you all have a really good genetic combo in your cells. You were dealt a really good genetic hand. And so we don't want to screw with that, okay? We don't want to mess with it. So let's make an exact copy. Now, does that always happen? No. There is like a baseline mutation rate that happens during replication. We'll talk about that more in, I think, lecture number 5. But yeah, you just want to make an exact copy, and that is all that replication is. So also the enzyme that performs DNA replication is called DNA polymerase. Okay, so a couple of things about how we name enzymes. Whenever you see the suffix ASE on the end of a term, that tells you that it's an enzyme. And then hopefully in the name, it tells you what it does. Okay, so remember, polymer is taking many individual subunits, in this case nucleotides, and hooking them together so they produce a long strand of DNA. Okay, so the term DNA polymerase means that we're synthesizing a new DNA molecule. Okay, so that is what replication is. Okay, so let me go back to the PowerPoint. Okay, so and theoretically, okay, so here you have the original double helix, and this is where those hydrogen bonds come in really handy because the DNA molecule can just unzip DNA polymerase comes in here, and then wherever it sees an A, it's going to add a T. Wherever it sees a G, it's going to add a C, and it does this on both strands. And so you end up at the end of replication, you have one half of the helix being the original strand, shown here in red, and then the other half is the brand new strand that was synthesized by DNA polymerase. Okay, and that is all replication is. So it really doesn't involve genes or making proteins or anything like that. It's kind of its own separate animal. So it looks like a really easy process, but I'm actually going to upload an animation that shows you how it's a little more complicated, because actually one of the strands can be copied kind of straightforward, and then the other one has to actually be unwound and then copied backwards. It's really weird. But I just want to show you in the animation what the process actually looks like. Okay, but that is the goal of DNA replication. Okay, so we're going to stop there. This is a short video, but I wanted to keep replication on its own. Okay, thanks.